What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Overwhelmed Gamer Podcast, where each episode we dive into a gaming topic, share what's currently gripping our controllers, jump into the fascinating realm of homebrew games, and round it out with our takes of the week, usually while sipping on a cocktail or two. This week, we are talking the state of mobile gaming, and this week is loaded with guests. So we have Johnny B joining us for our topic of mobile gaming, along with Keg. And in our homebrew overview, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Mathew Justice, the developer of Jane Austen's 8-Bit Adventure. So lots to get to this week. Grab a drink. Let's go.
Welcome, gamers and tipsy adventurers, to the Overwhelmed Gamer Podcast, where we unravel the mysteries of our game backlog, sip on some questionable drinks, and dive headfirst into the nostalgic world of classics and the mind-bending realm of homebrews.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the pod. Quick bit of housekeeping before we get started. Not much here besides check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Having lots of fun with it. It's been kind of difficult to keep up with videos and kind of learning this whole long form video thing, but it's been fun. I've been having a super good time with it, so check it out. Oh, and you should see by the time this episode comes out, my first unboxing video should be out, which is where I go over my video game monthly subscription and show you what I got there, show you some gameplay of stuff or whatever. I had fun doing that one. That was probably my longest one. And it should be out by the time this podcast episode drops. What else? Check me out on Twitch on Tuesday and Thursday nights for sure. Twitch and YouTube. I am everywhere else too, so I use this software and I stream on Twitch, YouTube, X, and Facebook. So, pick your poison, but Twitch and YouTube are the ones that I'm kind of focusing on making look cool and feel right and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, okay. So this is me sucking at trying to do podcasts still, and you'll hear this when we get to our topic. I really wanted to re-record and I just didn't have time, and I want to get this episode out. So I'm an idiot and I put on my AirPod. I use AirPods for my headphones when we're recording this usually. And like a dummy, I had my AirPods audio on instead of my mic's audio during the topic, and I sound like shit. So bear with us. It's still, you can still hear it. Everything sounds like you can hear me. Johnny B and Keg sound way better than I do though, because they didn't use something janky. I think. I don't know. We'll see. You'll hear it. But anyway, I apologize for that. And just one more thing that I'm trying to get better at here. So anyway, enough of that. Who cares? Nobody cares. That's it for that. And now it's time to get into a little segment I like to call What's Gripping Our Controllers. All right, welcome back to the podcast. If you're new to the pod, we take this time to discuss what I've been up to since last we spoke, like what I'm playing, game pickups, all that kind of fun stuff. So anyway, what have I been up to since last time we did an episode? I finished Beavis and Butthead for the Sega Genesis. For those that came by to check out my stream, that took me like 5 streams to finish. I suck at video games. I don't know. It's fun. It was, I don't know. The cool thing was, and I don't remember why I chose to pick this one up and stream, but the cool thing is I never did play that game before. So that was a plus, because I guess I must have played the Super Nintendo version. And sorry, I forgot who pointed it out to me during my stream. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm probably wrong. I'm usually wrong. The Super Nintendo version was much more point and click and way less fighting, platforming, that kind of stuff. So the Genesis had a lot of those aspects to it. And there was a couple parts that were super frustrating, but still fun. And frustrating is probably not a good word. They were difficult, but it was super rewarding when you completed it. So how do you complain about that? I think it was good. I think it was well done. The graphics were great. Played along with a lot of, your typical Beavis and Butthead humor, the imaging, everything. yeah, if you're a Beavis and Butthead fan, it is definitely worth checking out. I'll give it a review at some point. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do these reviews. I was doing the 2-minute reviews, and that where I would take a step back. I was doing 90-second game reviews, and then I moved it to 2-minute game reviews for the YouTube channel. And now I want to do longer reviews, but I don't know. I think you might see a little bit of everything. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? Whatever. Blah, blah, blah. That's for another time. So yeah, I finished Beavis and Butthead. Also completed my playthrough of Skate Cat, the NES Homebrew game. Now, okay, so here's a question. Do you get to call Skate Cat or any other NES Homebrew game a homebrew once it's available on the Switch? Because it does now have a Switch port. I guess you can still call it a homebrew because it started that way, right? Just because it gets a Switch port later, or did you just call it a Switch game now? And it's on Steam as well, I believe. But I highly recommend Skate Cat. I had a blast playing that, and that one also took me like 4 streams to get through, and it was super fun. You can go through the whole game in, I don't know, I would say like 20 minutes, 25 minutes maybe if you play it straight through. But it is just, I don't know how else to explain it, but just plain fun. You play as a cat on a skateboard, and well, you know what? I don't want to go too far into it because that might actually be the game we discuss next episode. So yeah, I don't want to just play the game. Check it out, play the game. You can find it on itch.io. You can get it on Switch. You can get it on Steam. So yeah, check it out. It's good. It's good. That's what I wanted to talk about. As far as like modern games, I'm still playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I think I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth since we started this stupid podcast. I like it. Okay, it's not that I don't like the game. I really like it. It's just it's a little overwhelming, pun intended, with the mini games and the side quests are so much, and I feel this pull to actually do the side quests and the mini quests and the mini games and all these different things. But it's to the point where I kind of lost track of the story because of the time I've had to play it. And I don't know, I might actually take a break from it. Again, it's good. I'm enjoying it, but I feel a little, how do I want to put it? I feel not really connected with the game. Like I finished Final Fantasy VII Remake about 2 months before Rebirth came out. So I was like, this is perfect. And I super, like, Remake, I loved. I absolutely loved that game. So I was like, dude, the story is fresh in my mind. And I have played the original Final Fantasy VII too. So I get, whatever people, if you listen to the previous episodes of this podcast, Keg and I go on and argue about the remakes of these games. But anyway, who cares? Nobody cares. No, I lost my train of thought. I'm so bad at this. It's a little, I don't know. It just hasn't captured my attention like I had hoped it would. And I know there's a lot of people that love this game and that are out there playing it and finished it and rave about it. And it just hasn't really done that for me. Like when I'm in the midst of the gameplay and I'm going through like the story piece, I'm like, yeah, this game is sweet. But then I get to the side quest and I'm like, you know what, this is fun, but is it really? I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of fluff. Like almost too much fluff. So I think I'm going to shelve it for a little bit and I'll come back. I'll definitely come back to it when I have more time, like maybe like winter or whatever, when I'm not outside doing yard work all the goddamn time or, doing summer stuff. So that might be a good game to come back to in the fall or, winter over, Christmas break, something like that. I don't know. So I'm probably going to find something more or a different, like, quote, modern game or something for my backlog to play as like my personal goof around game. So anyway, that's my story there. As far as hiccups go, what did I grab? Oh, I got my Sea of Stars physical copy, finally. That only took like 6 years to get here. But it's cool. It comes with a nice sleeve. I ended up getting it for the Switch. these retro games, they're retro inspired games, I should say. They feel like they should be on the Switch. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a Nintendo thing. But any of those games, like Octopath Traveler, what else is the Triangle Strategy, all those kind of, retro inspired graphic games. I don't know. I feel like if you play it on the Switch now, I played Sea of Stars on my Xbox because it was on Game Pass. So that's where I jumped on that to play it initially. But then, when I added the physical copy to the collection, I decided to go for the Switch. What else did we grab since our last episode? Oh, I got my copy of Data Man, NES Homebrew game. Excited to check that out. I've heard nothing but good things about it from different Discord. The Homebrew Game Club's Discord is full of folks that are huge NES Homebrew fans, and I hang out in there, and a lot of people have just raved about that game. So I was like, shoot, all right, I got to pick that up. So I grabbed that. I got my copy of that. On my NES collection adventure, I got, what did I get? I don't remember, and I'm too lazy to get up and go look. I did get a copy of, I'm just all over the place today. Who cares? I grabbed a copy of Legend of Zelda. Believe it or not, I did not have that. For those that don't know, too, like my whole NES collecting thing is, I'm kind of just starting it. I only have like 50 games so far. And I do get a subscription now to Video Game Monthly, which gives me like 5 games. Yeah, 5 games a month. And I do only NES games through that. And you'll see that if you check out my YouTube channel, you'll see my unboxing video coming up soon. And anyway, so I'll keep everybody updated on that. I got some other NES games. I don't remember which ones off the top of my head, but Legend of Zelda was one I definitely wanted to add. And then there was actually 6 more that were also added. I'll just tell you, do I remember them? One was Wheel of Fortune. What were the other ones? RC Pro-Am I got. Those are the old Bad Dudes was another one that I got. Where the president's kidnapped by a bunch of ninjas, which is freaking hilarious to me. So, but yeah, I don't know. That's it. That's all we got going on right now. Is that all? Yeah, I think that's it for what's gripping our controllers, or my controller anyway. Now we are going to jump into our topic of the week, which is mobile gaming. Hey, welcome back to the pod, everybody. This episode, we don't do this weekly anymore. So this episode, I should say, is we're diving into mobile games. And it was brought to my attention by our friend John B., who was with us on our podcast this week. John B., what's going on, man?
Hey,
welcome
guys.
to the pod.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Kate's with us as well, unfortunately, but that's all right. We'll deal with them, I guess.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm waiting for him to say something. He's just ignoring me.
Yeah,
Goose.
no, you were giving me shit
What?
just leading up to this damn thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are you done?
Yep. Nope.
No.
Probably not. Yeah.
Anyway, before we give our takes on mobile gaming, I wanted to read off a few takes that we got from the community. The first being LL Cool Games wrote in, and she says, I use mobile games for mental health breaks. Mini Metro is surprisingly chill when I'm stuck in line or in the school pickup line, which, yeah, I get. My kids use them for socializing with their buddies, and it helps ensure they don't get themselves into trouble with all that's available online these days. You know, that's a good take, honestly, because there is way more things you can do online that are way, way worse than playing mobile games. So I get that. Thanks for writing. Oh, and check out her, so LL Cool Games, she has a new YouTube channel, so make sure you go over there and check her stuff out. I think she's got, 2-3 videos posted so far, so yeah, go over there, give her some love. She's doing a great job. She's just getting started with all that fun stuff. Also, Brent Ellis wrote in on Facebook and says, I think the only mobile game I've stuck with is Pokemon Go.
Dude, we played that. I never really played it. I mean, I tried it just to try it because of all the hoopla, but there's people that are so into that game.
Yeah, I played it for a hot minute when it first came out, and I happened to have
Actually,
one of
you
those
and I
hotspots,
fucking-
like a
Holy cow!
I had a
that one
hotspot
time
like
that
a
you
block
and I
away
were
from my
walk-
house.
we were walking around the neighborhood just like dumbasses at 2:00 in the morning, drunk
Yeah.
in the skunk.
Looking for monsters on our phone. And
That was
it was
fun.
actually funny too because I'm a mailman, so at the point in time when that game came out, I was going everywhere in the city.
Oh, dude, right?
So I was getting all kinds of different stuff. Like, nobody, unless you're willing to go around and collect everything. But I was just doing it while I was at work. Don't tell anybody. But
Oh, I think you just did.
yeah,
Nobody listens to the show.
Limitations of
you like to bring that up a lot. I've been listening to a lot of episodes. And
I don't think you think
like to bring up statute of limitations. I don't think you think what that exactly means.
I was trying to think of
I
the
know
phrase
what
that
it
they
means.
say on The Princess
You know what it
Bride.
means.
I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. I don't think you think. I think you know what I'm talking about. Though, that phrase that he says?
You
dude,
bring
you're
that up
saying
a
it
lot.
that way.
Okay, you bring it up a
Yeah.
lot. You bring it up a lot. Statute of limitations.
Anyways.
Never mind. Let's tell a story.
Stupid kid. Brett goes on to say that usually when I'm traveling on vacation, I'll get hooked on something during traveling, but delete it when I'm back home. And that's that's kind of a good way to do it, because I could see, especially. Well, I don't want to get too far into it because we'll get into all that discussion as we go on. But yeah, thanks for writing in, Brett. And then finally, Pascal Belial, and again, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he just wrote it and said, "I don't play mobile games." He hit me up on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think so. Great.
Well,
on a side
Pascal,
note,
live a little.
right? On a side note with Pascal, though, go check out his game. It's The Trial of Charizard. So it's coming out. He's got like 2 weeks left in his Kickstarter for the game, and he's up like 60% or so funded. So he's on track, but let's make sure we get him over so everybody can get a physical copy of his new NES Homebrew that's coming out.
Yeah, I watched you play that Charizard, and it's a cool game.
Dude, it's super cool and it's super unique. He's calling it a Arkanoid Mania, I guess is the way to explain it. So it plays kind of like Arkanoid, the whole paddle game or whatnot, but there's a storyline to it, and you can go different places. So there's actual bosses to fight and everything. Super unique, great idea. I'm honestly shocked that he didn't. I figured that was one that was just going to get funded like boom, like that, and be done. And I was just talking to him. When did I talk to him? Thursday. And when I was streaming, he jumped in and I visited with him. And so he shot high. Kickstarter is like $25,000, but and they're more than halfway there. So let's make sure we get him over.
What platform?
Anyway.
What platform is that on, Jason?
NES.
Okay.
Yeah. So super, super sick game. But anyway, let's get into mobile games on our end. Let's just start with you, man. You're the one that kind of brought this up. I know you play mobile games a lot, and I have my take on them. But what do you play? Like, how does that whole? How do I want to say it? I'm going to shut up. You tell me what you're playing, and we'll go from there.
So, basically, I'm a gamer, played through and through. I had ColecoVision was my first system, just like you. The next Christmas, I got Atom. Whatever's that's the history. But as far as like mobile games, it really kind of took off with like it's the main games I play is Supercell games. So that's Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, Boom Beach. And then again, I can't remember the fourth game that just came out like 3 weeks ago. Clash of Clans, me and Keg started playing that.
Yep.
Shortly after it started. So I don't think we got in right at when it started, but we did get in the start Clash Royale, which is kind of a spin-off of Clash of Clans. It's a card-based game, 1v1 or 2v2. And you're basically it's like a card game almost. So a card, it's You have 8 cards to play with. Protect your castle.
Right.
So it's a castle rush game. And
Gotcha.
that came out, in 2014. And me and Cake started a clan. And just goofing off, thinking, "Hey, this game just got released. Let's try to start from the ground up."
Right.
And I haven't stopped.
Okay.
Holy
Dude,
crap,
that's
how
just
many
not-
times
I've
have we
had-
talked about? How many times have we talked about that? Even Jason and I started clans, and it's
Yeah,
stuff like
Me?
Ultima. And,
I didn't start any
all-
playing with you. Other than Ultima, you are.
Yeah, dude, it was kind of the same thing that Johnny B and I just like. All of a sudden, we were just like, "Hey,
Oh, I get it.
yeah, let's get into this," and then all of a sudden, they were like, the people that were like invited us, however it was, and they were like, "Oh, hey, maybe you know what you're doing," and then it just got better than that. It's like, I know what I'm
Well,
doing.
Yeah, that was the early days of Clash of Clans. Like
Yeah.
early days of Clash of Clans, it was just like 1v1. And then I think about a year later they introduced Clan Wars.
Clan Wars.
So then
Yep.
whatever people you had in your clan could fight another clan. And
Yeah, but you pin certain warriors against other warriors. Like you could switch stuff up. Yeah, it was. Dude, yeah,
I feel like a lot of these mobile games they kind of hit the same formula, or they're very similar in like, okay, you can have a guild or a clan or whatever they decide to call it.
Right.
And then you kind of have to, so the mobile game that I got into, and I don't play it any longer. I haven't played it in club. Once in a while, I'll jump back into it just to see what characters exist now, but I've never actually played it again. Was Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.
Yeah, I started playing that when that came out too. That was cool.
Yeah, but the only thing with those games, which drives me nuts, is they are for sure play to win, or pay to win, I should say. And if you're not willing to spend the money, it's almost like, I don't know, it kind of takes the fun out of it. And it got to the point where people were spending so much money in the Star Wars game that I was playing, at least. I was just like, dude, it's going to take me literally years to get to the point where I can get like said character for the game if I don't drop like $500 or whatever it is to like get these other 8 characters that I need to be able to fight this battle to get this one character. And that's what kind of did it for me. I was like, dude, no, I'm not spending all that money to just like keep up with the game. But the game is still going after all these years. So people have either one, found a way to do like a free to play kind of thing and still enjoy it, or two, they're spending the money. I mean, I'd have to imagine there's plenty of people that are out there spending money because the game still exists, right? If everyone was just free to play, the thing would have died years ago.
Yeah, that's the main thing behind all these mobile games that are free to play. It's all microtransitions. That's how they survive.
Yeah.
And I got statistics for Clash of Clans. Like they're making money hand over fist.
I bet.
It's insane. They made $471 million in 2022 just on microtransactions.
471 million?
Yes. Yeah.
Holy balls.
And it's because they had as in 2020, these are the stats I got from 2022. They have 75 million active players. So when you throw a microtransaction to here's a $2 transaction that'll maybe get your character over the hump.
Yeah.
Who's not going to spend the $2 to do it?
I get it. Yeah. Especially if you're into the game. It's like, dude, $2, sure.
Right. They got smart a couple years back. I'd say about 3-4 years back. They started doing a battle pass, just like every other game that's out there. If you want to prolong, you want to continue on this game, sign up for the battle pass for $6 a month. And then you get the high tier rewards along the way. They dangle that carrot in front of you better and better.
Right.
The one thing that I've seen to combat that is in my Clash Royale, just to have a good clan.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could care less about my individual stats and all this and that. It's the weekend wars that they have. They have a war every Thursday through Sunday. You get to text 3 or 4 times a day. So it's in total 12 attacks. And then at the end, everybody gets a reward, depending on how well your clan did.
Okay.
So I have 50 people. Well, I have 50 people in my clan, technically 49 because we hang on to a guy that died, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But that's how I've grown. This clan is kind of like my digital family, There's guys that have been on there forever since 2016 when it started.
Yeah.
Along the way, we lost a member. We haven't booted him.
Yeah.
He was a guy's best friend. He's on our clan till I quit. That's just how it is. So it's become that core of friends where you get that sometimes with online games, and I got a couple, but yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at. Is like I don't care about my character doing this or having a bunch of this. I want everybody to do well. So that's kind of the main reason that I'm basically stuck with Clash Royale.
Well, that's cool. I mean, anytime you have a game, mobile or not for that matter, that has like that community building aspect, that's huge. I remember, Keg and we played the shit out of Ultima Online. Yeah, we had one of the largest. I think we were the largest guild in the game for a little bit. Not to get off topic here, but it's kind of in the same vein and you felt like it was your second family, or it was a second friend group, or however you want to say it, where you jumped on and we chatted and we got into voice and talked all the time. And now I think with things like Discord, and things like that, it's easy to make that community even stronger because you can all get into a Discord chat or channel or chat or just, typing chat or actual voice chat, however you want to do it. So yeah, I get it. One of the things I wanted to get into as well with mobile games was like some of the time suck stuff to me was crazy because and maybe they're not all like this, but I have a feeling that they follow suit a little bit, most of them. When I played Star Wars, there was like certain times where I don't remember what they called it, but they were like basically like almost like boss battles. So they call them like events or some shit like that. But you would go in and like fight the Rancor, but you could only do it at like 9 o'clock or whenever the guild decided like, hey, we're going to raid the Rancor fight at, 10 o'clock Central Time or whatever it may be. So then and then they would get pissed off at you if you like that time didn't fit with you. So they'd be like, why weren't you at the thing? And I was like, go fuck yourself. I was taking care of my kids, eat a bag of dicks. So that stuff annoyed me. A lot.
When you're a clan leader, you got to get on every fucking member, man.
I guess.
Oh my god, dude!
It's the biggest thing that I have to deal with, and I'm like, and my wife laughs at me. She's like, "Oh, you're a clan leader? What does that mean?" It means I'm responsible for 48 other individuals. Yeah, and I got to send out messages. Let us know if you're going on vacation, so we don't kick you out. Because I got a right-hand man. His name is Chef. The guy is ruthless. I've never met him in my life, but I love the guy. He doesn't fuck around, man. If you miss 4 attacks, you get the boot. And we get other guys coming in. Well, why'd you kick that guy? Well, because he's not attacking. He's not helping. And that's come back and attack, buddy. That's all members. Oh, and by the way, Brutane Clan. Brutane Clan, that's my clan.
Nice.
But as far as always recruiting, brother. Events, it's like Boom Beach has one too. It's get involved, get it done, and it's for the greater good of the clan. But I get it. And Clash of Clans is another funny thing because I've bounced around to try high level clans and all this. And after playing that for almost 10 years, I finally found a clan that's all Wisconsin kids.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, as irritating as all that nagging,
you know what?
And
I remember
that can get.
I remember that, dude. You're like, dude, just out of nowhere, we just ran into a guy hey, you play too. Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, all of a sudden, I only live like 2 doors out from you. It's like, what the hell?
Or you ran into that random guy like Adonis. Remember Adonis at my brother's house?
Yeah.
Like the biggest 6'4" black guy. He was like, dude, you go outside for a cigarette and you hear that. He's like, oh, you play Clash of Clans? And I'm like, yeah, do you play Clash of Clans? And he whips out his phone and shows it to you, and he's like the max base, everything. I'm like, dude, you spent some money, brother, haven't you?
Yeah.
So
and
it's kind of funny.
It's a lot of money. Dude, you know what?
Yeah.
I gave up that game just after I thought about it, and I was like, I probably spent about $250. If not more. And I was like, no, I don't spend this much on a game. Yeah, I can't imagine how much you guys spent.
You only play 2 games a year, Sal. So what are you spending your money on?
You know what? On different games, but playing different games.
I know.
I spent 70, 80
what
bucks
does that
on a
mean?
game. Well, no, I spent 70, 80 bucks on a game that's like a one and done versus a game that I'm playing,
all the time.
It's just kind of a money pit. I mean, I think sometimes, man, it's like, holy crap, I've never spent that much money on a game ever. And I had VR and all this other shit, I'm like, what? Yeah. There.
No, I get it, because he talks about how much you spend over the entire time you've played the game. I get it. Then, it becomes, but
again, there are other games out there where it's not a money pit. Like, remember when Words with Friends was huge?
Oh yeah.
That's another mobile game that just took off, and everybody and their mother was playing it, and you were like,
and again,
I was playing at one point. I was playing 5 different people at a time.
What's the newest thing? Like Wordle? What is that? That's like something now. Or was something? I don't really know. I don't pay attention.
You know what?
That's kind of like
I
daily
play Monopoly Go. I do. I play Monopoly Go.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's a mobile game.
So that's your mobile game that you play, and I know that's a popular game.
Yeah, I love that game. I think they did a great job with that game. And it's just a game that you can just like casually pick up and just kind of fart around with. And,
Candy Crush.
Yeah,
Candy Crush is another mobile game that was huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I literally don't play any mobile games anymore. Like, I played the Star Wars game, and that was it. And then I don't even have, like, nothing. No simple, any little game on my phone at all. It's really weird, because I used to have, even, like, for, me, of course I had Dragon's Lair on my phone, so I used to pop that, or, pop that up once in a while, but nothing. I don't play any games mobile anymore. Besides, I'm talking like on my phone. I'm not talking about like picking up my Switch or something like that. That's a whole different thing.
There was another game too that
I'm digging my Switch now.
I know you guys don't like. I know you guys aren't into first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Another big game that I played after the console release was PUBG Mobile. That game was fun as hell. That came out. It was a PC game. Then it came out for the Xbox.
Yeah, PUBG was.
That's basically
PUBG's been around for a long time, right?
Yeah,
PUBG
basically.
It's like a first-person shooter.
It's a battle royale game. So there's a big map, 100 players in the game.
On mobile.
Now it's about 5 years old, I think. PUBG Mobile. And that game slays, man. It was so much fun. Coming from the console to your mobile, it didn't skip a beat. It really didn't.
That's incredible now too. Well, that's the other thing that we should probably talk about just a second is what these phones can put out now compared to, your phone is compared to like a console generation. Like, what is it at? Like PS3 level? I mean, seriously, like the processing and the graphic output that phones can do now?
Yeah, it's insane. And
so
Call of Duty just came out with a mobile game. Call of Duty Mobile.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, you know what? Even better than that, dude. even better than that, there's been a resurgence of fucking like JRPG games, and, there's like lots of them on Strict Phone right now.
Yeah, I know Square
you know-
Enix.
Yeah.
I know Square Enix does some games mobile. My problem is playing any mobile games,
There's
whether it's on my
lots of
phone
them.
or on like my Switch or my 3DS or whatever. Dude, I'm fucking old. I can't see that shit anymore. Like literally,
Yeah.
I can only look at that screen for like 3 minutes, and I'm like, fuck this sucks. I can't do it. Like, dude, my eyes get so strained. It probably doesn't help that literally my whole life is consumed by sitting down in front of a computer for my real job, and then my hobby is practically the same shits.
Yeah, to be fair, when I did play PUBG Mobile, I did download it on a tablet, so I wasn't
I don't
playing it
blame
on my
you.
phone, and that makes a world of difference too when you're playing on a phone screen versus a
bigger
tablet
screen.
screen. Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I make sure, even like, as most people
We're all
know,
getting old.
a huge homebrew fan, and there's a very, very large Game Boy homebrew community, and they put out some really, really good shit. And I have one. I think I only have like one actual cart. Yeah, one. But I got like two more on the way right now, but they all come with the digital version, so I can actually play it on my monitor or my TV, so I don't go blind. But I just, man, those small
You don't
screen,
have-
I can't
you
do.
That Game Boy thing, that magnifier, you got that?
Dude, that thing was such a piece of shit. I did have that back in the day, actually. That thing sucked balls.
With
That
the little
thing
light
was-
on it,
Oh, yeah.
it sucked 4 AA batteries right out of your for an
Yeah.
hour play.
Dude, it was like 10 minutes. And I was just like, dude, this sucks. Dude, that's funny. Because, dude, it didn't even work, really. If I remember right, too. It hardly fit on the Game Boy. And then I had this other thing, too, that, like, clamped on your Game Boy that had, like, a little joystick instead of, like, the D-pad. And it was the whole thing.
And
It
the
was like a
huge-
Frankenstein
Which he thought from
mess.
that.
But, yeah, dude. But yeah, I can't sit there and look at that screen for very long. Even, like, my phone, just, like, thumbing through it or whatnot. After a couple minutes, I'm like, dude, I just can't. I'm old, and it sucks, but whatever. And I used to have, like, my eyesight used to be, like, crazy good, and I could just look at anything whenever I wanted forever, and, yeah, that changed, like, really quick.
Hey, where are your glasses?
He doesn't know.
Well,
He doesn't know what he's
probably
doing
sitting
right
at
now.
Virginia Beach somewhere.
Well, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
man.
that's where they're at.
Well,
Well,
if we
you
got
know,
anything
found
else to
them.
add to this? Keg, you, anything else to add to mobile gaming? Anything else you want to bring up?
Yeah, no, like I said, you know what? The only mobile gaming thing that I've really been playing kind of serious is Monopoly Go. It's an easy one, and you don't really have to spend any money on it. You can if you want, but it's
What do you
it's just
spend
a
money
fun
on
game.
for Monopoly Go? What do you like actually buy Boardwalk for real?
No, you just buy spins.
No.
Like every time you shake the dice.
Oh,
you know,
because you
buy
have like a
spins.
timer or whatever, so you could like
Yeah.
do another. Okay, I get it. Yeah. I know what you
Yeah.
mean. You know what? They tapped into something though. They're obviously hugely popular, and well, let's get into this just real quick. What I don't like is some of the. I know a lot of the microtransactions are making their way into like even like larger console games, which is kind of annoying, but I understand it to some aspect because these studios are trying to figure out ways to make money because even like these big AAA titles, they're not doing it. You know, they spend all this money on making this big AAA title, and I don't think they're making a whole ton of money. I mean, just look at this generation in general with like the PS5, the Xbox Series SX, Switch excluded because the Switch is doing just fine. Yeah, so I think that's it. I think we're done. Johnny, give me shout out your clan and give me all your info if people want to. You said you're recruiting, so let's get all that information out there. 'Cause I understand the whole recruiting thing.
Yeah, always recruiting for Clash of Clans, or no, Clash Royale. It's the Brutane clan. It's I'm a Brewers fan, like the Wu-Tang. Let's combine
Nice.
both. Rock and roll, right? Wu-Tang Clan. If you battle every Thursday through Sunday, just join us and we just have fun. And it's not a shit talking clan or whatever. It's a time suck almost. You get to know some of these guys. I've had married couples on here where they've had a baby and then the wife drops out. It's hilarious. We've had our ups and downs. I've had it where I've gone on vacation and come back and like 30 people have left, and I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Really? Wow.
You're not 30. I was a little exaggerating, but
Sure.
Sometimes there's a mass exodus for no reason, or you have one little prick in the clan that just stirs some shit up. But so far, I've learned. Like I said, I've played it 8 years now, so I've learned. I like to consider myself a competent leader when it comes to like handling stupid shit like that, and I make it fun for everybody. And that's, like I said before, my main goal is like, come play this game. Yeah, it's pay to win, and you'll get guys been on this clan 5 years that these decks are overpowered, pay to win, and this and that. And I'm like, well, the fun part about that game is trying to figure out how to beat those decks that are like almost overpowered. And there's a lot of resources out there. Just quick go back on one that I haven't talked about, Boom Beach. That's probably Supercell's least populated game. But they have a monthly thing that's like a mini game within that game where there's a tech tree. You have to earn your way through the tech tree to get better and better. You can't pay to get better in this little mini game. So it forces you to like kind of learn what the meta is and learn to defend it. And like I said, there's resources out there. Like there's a YouTube guy. I'll give a shout out to the Chicken. The Chicken is the fucking man when it comes to that game, And I don't know how popular it is. I just found him through the game. It gives you a little link and whatever. But he helps set up my strategy, or he's always, the thing is like, I'm not that great. So he's always like 3 steps ahead of me. Try to follow his path a little bit. I'm invested in these games, and it's not just like, I do try to play first-person shooters or my other games. I play Call of Duty, whatever.
Maybe we'll even actually hang out a little bit after this and we can get Keg's dumbass back here because he fell off his chair or something. But dude, I've been trying to get into like new genres that I haven't really played in the past, and one of those is first-person shooters. And I'm not going to play like online because I know I'm going to suck and I don't have time for that shit. But
you have to throw yourself into the fire when it comes to those games.
All right, I'll try.
There are some alternatives that we can talk later about instead of like help ease you in.
Gotcha. Yeah, but I feel like there's it's a whole like genre of game that's obviously very popular, and there's very good games out there for it that I've just kind of passed up because I'm dumb. That's probably
well, you can create a character and name it your mom. That's the best part about it, right?
Dude, that's the best. I name everything my mom, your mom, somebody's mom. Fuck, who cares? But anyway, I think we're gonna wrap up here. Dude, thanks so much for jumping on. We'll definitely get you on some more. And I think that's it for a mobile game topic this week. And when we come back, you'll be listening to my interview with Mathew Justice, the developer behind Jane Austen's 8-Bit Adventure.
All right. Welcome back to the pod, everybody. And right now we have with us Mathew Justice, who is the mind behind Jane Austen's 8-Bit Adventure. Thanks for joining us, Mathew. I super appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm glad I can be here.
So the first question I have is, why Jane Austen? Like, what was the whole inspiration behind making a game around that?
Yeah. That's actually an easy one.
Sure.
So my wife is a big Jane Austen fan. And when I set out to do this project, I wanted to involve her in some way. So I knew I wanted to make a game for the NES. It's been a long-term goal of mine. And I wanted to bring her in, but she's not a retro gaming fan. And she's not a developer. But she does love Jane Austen. It seemed like a great way to get her involved. The more we talked about it, also the more it became clear that I don't think there's anything quite like this already been done with Jane Austen before. So it was unique. We ended up going with a setting of Jane Austen has been pulled into this 8-bit world, and it allowed us to pull freely from Jane Austen's works. I wasn't having to actually stick strictly to the plot of her story. I was able to, just sort of adapt it and use it as we saw fit. So it was fun, and gave me a chance to work with her.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've wanted to work on a game forever at this point, and same kind of thing. My one daughter, she's an artist herself and really, really creative. And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I loop her into creating a game with me at some point? So it's great when you can get family involved. As far as the development process goes for this, did you use anything specific, or you're a developer yourself, or how did that go?
Yeah. So my background is I was a software engineer at Microsoft for about 17 years. I left there to write a book about computers, how computers really work is what it's called. And then after that, I went to do this game. And so, 20-ish years software development experience before coming to this. So I was really coming at it much more from an engineering perspective than a creative perspective. Like, I really wanted to get into the guts of how the NES worked. I was just fascinated by what developers were able to pull off back in the day, and I just kind of wanted to see, can I achieve the same kind of coding that they were able to do back then? So I ended up writing most of the game in assembly language for the NES, because I really want, there's easier ways to do this, but I really wanted to kind of challenge myself and do it more the way it was done back in the day. So I use some modern tools too, though, and I used, my editor was Visual Studio Code, which is a modern editor, and I used emulators, of course, to debug and test it, because it was way easier than just using real hardware, right? So I took advantage of newer tools when I could. But I did do it the hard way in terms of I wrote everything from scratch in assembly language.
That's actually really cool, though, because I know there's a lot of, so this isn't a NES Maker project at all. It's all just assembly language. Okay.
Yeah. And respect to the people that have put together NES Maker and
for sure,
open up the door for more people to do this. So I mean, it's just a different way of doing it. For me personally, my goal was as much about understanding the NES and challenging myself as it was about making the game. I had different goals than someone else might have. Sure.
Now, did you do all the art and music and all that as well?
Most of it. Okay. So I did maybe 70% of the art or something like that. And then in the last year of development, I brought in a friend of mine who I used to work with at Microsoft to help me get it to production and get it all ready. And he helped. It was interesting. I brought him in because of his coding skills. Turns out he's a good pixel artist too. So he helped me refine my art.
Yeah, as I've gotten more and more into the homebrew scene, I'm finding a lot of that crossover with, people that are into the development side of things, but are also really good artists or are really, really good pixel artists or artists in general that have now started to switch over and get into the development side of things. So it's really neat how these projects come together now.
And I'll say for me that the pixel art was new. Like, this was not something I'd been doing in the past. So it was a new skill for me. And, it was definitely stretching my my abilities. But and the music, you asked about the music. So I do have something of a musical background, not professional, but I enjoy music on the side. So I wrote the music originally just as sheet music, and then had to figure out how to translate that for the NES to play back. So
gotcha. Yeah, there's so much that goes into this kind of stuff. Did you run into any, or I guess what kind of technical challenges did you run into writing a game in assembly?
A lot. Where to start? Well, I mean, the biggest hurdle was just getting my head around the way the NES works in general, like the way the picture processing unit works and the way the audio processor works. Like, it's just very different from modern development, where you have on the NES, you have just complete control over the hardware. It's just you and the hardware. If you're writing a modern app or game, you're not talking directly to the hardware. You're talking to some kind of intermediate software layer that in turn is talking to the operating system, that's in turn talking to the hardware. So it's just a very, very different mindset if you think about it, and just getting into the nuances of exactly how the timing works on the picture processing unit, because it's all about the timing on the NES. The only real notification you get that time is passing at all is every time that scan line is drawn from top to bottom and it resets back to the top. You get a notification that, oh, it's time. It's time for the next frame to be drawn. So you get that 60 hertz or 50 if you were in the EU. Notification of it's time to draw something, and so you've got it. You can't draw. There are only certain times when it's safe to draw. You draw other times, you'll end up getting weird graphical artifacts. So just getting that timing down to a science, and not taking too long to do anything was a big part of the technical challenge. And I'd say the other, actually maybe the hardest thing for me actually was the audio, because it doesn't, for the most part, the NES doesn't play back audio, like recorded audio. It's more like you're controlling a musical instrument, like the NES itself. Like you're telling it as your program runs, okay, play this particular pitch for, this long and at this volume, right? So you're like, as the code is running, you're manipulating the waveform real time. So it's a very, very different way of thinking about music and programming.
Yeah, I bet. Now, going back to like the assembly stuff, is that something you had to go back and kind of teach yourself? I'm assuming you didn't start in assembly.
Well, not in 6502 assembly.
Right.
So the thing about assembly language is that it's different for every processor family, right? If you're doing x86 assembly on a PC versus ARM assembly on a phone, they have their own sets of instructions. There's some similar, they do the same kinds of things, but the syntax is totally different. So the NES is a 6502 processor in it, so it has its own unique assembly language for that processor, which I'd never used before. But I had worked in assembly before.
Oh, okay.
When I was at Microsoft, I worked in assembly on doing things in Windows, but this was new. But the cool thing about the assembly for 6502 is that it's super simple. Because it's an 8-bit processor, it's doesn't have, everything's a lot simpler. There's not that many instructions. The ones that you do have are pretty straightforward. So you can, like, the entirety of all the instructions that the processor can do, you can fit on a sheet of paper. Like it, so it's on one hand it's really easy to learn. On the other hand, it's challenging because there's certain things it just doesn't do. Like there's no divide instruction. Like if you want to divide, it doesn't exist. So but I had to learn it.
Okay, gotcha. Going back to the graphics, what did you use to do like your pixel art?
Yeah, so I used a couple of different tools. There's YYCHR is a editor for editing the style of graphics that the NES has, and there's another tool called Tiled or TileEd. How do you say it? It's basically a layout for your levels that lets you graphically lay out your levels. So I would create the tiles. So you have two sets of tiles. You have the sprite tiles, and then you got your background tiles. And so created those in YYCHR and then used Tiled to lay out those tiles on a grid, basically to lay out how you want your maps to look. But from that tool doesn't actually generate anything the NES knows about. You can just export that to an intermediate file, but then you have to figure out how am I going to take that and get it into an NES game. But it's a lot better than laying it out by hand. When I first started, I was actually putting in the bytes in code, like the level.
Oh my gosh!
That didn't work for long. Like that got old.
Yeah, I could imagine. How did you go about the actual like level design and the idea behind putting together the game, like the overall idea of getting the pages to move on to the next level? Like, how did that all come about?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because something that I realized in developing this game is that that's a whole other skill set, right? Like making a level that's fun to play, right? Like, it's one thing to build a system for making a game run, but then when it comes to how do you design the levels, that's a whole, and then, big game companies, of course, there's people whose whole job is thinking about that kind of thing, right?
Right.
But so the reason it has that structure is I wanted to have a game that was not completely linear. Like I wanted it to be, fairly straightforward, but I didn't want it to be just, go straight through the level. I wanted there to be some element of exploration involved.
Yeah.
I happened to be playing Castlevania Rondo of Blood around the time I was thinking of the design. And that game is sort of between the old school Castlevanias and then Symphony of the Night, which was a full on, Metroidvania.
Metroidvania, yeah.
Right. So I didn't want to go all the way there, but I did want something kind of in between. So the idea of the pages was to give the player some incentive to explore the level more fully, and to have some reason for, maybe backtracking or going back and looking at what else, you might have missed.
Yeah, that's one of the things I thought was cool about the game, and I haven't given it a full playthrough yet, but it's on my. My next stream is going to be Ninja Gaiden 2 because I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. But
yes.
And then so how I do my streams is I do like a regular licensed game, and then the next one I do a homebrew game. So I'm going to play yours after I beat myself up with Ninja Gaiden. But the time that I did spend with it, I thought it was really cool. Where you like the one, I think it was probably like the first level, you walk in and she tells you about the pages, but you don't just progress through to the right. You actually can go back to the left to get to that. So yeah, I really like that piece of the game.
Thank you. Yeah, it was something of experimental and trial and error to see what worked too. Right, I would show my family and friends and be like, "Does this make sense? Am I giving you enough clues to know what's next?" It was really interesting realizing like how much thought must go into level design and trying to push myself to figure out, can I get good at this?
Sure. Now, did you use just family and friends for kind of like play testers, or did you have a group of people you sent it out to?
Mostly family and friends. What happened was the very first release I did, there's this yearly NES Dev competition where people do homebrew stuff, posted on itch.io now. They do it once a year. I did a release on there. It was an early build. Like it was not anywhere near what was in the final game. But that was the first time when I got feedback outside of friends and family. And some of the people that gave me feedback early there, I was able to connect with later and get some further feedback along the way. So, mostly friends and family, but some others along the way too.
Okay. Now, have you done any game development in the past, or this was it? This was your first?
This was the first. I've done just some really small, like I wrote Tetris from scratch one time, or just things like that. But nothing that I had. I had done a few mobile games too, just small things, but nothing that was like a traditional with a controller, that type of a game.
Right. So you go through and actually finish or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any future projects? Is this a one and done, or do you have any ideas for any more games?
Well, that's a great question. When I was starting on this, my expectation was that I probably would do more. By the time I got to the end, I was like, I don't know, not right away. Anyway, it's something that I would like to revisit later, but I think I'm going to step away. In fact, I know I'm going to step away from game development for a little while and enjoy being a gamer a bit, and then come back to actually developing some later, maybe.
Gotcha. So you obviously a game fan. What did you grew up around, like the NES stuff, and is that kind of your bread? Yeah.
The NES was my first console. Got it when it was still new, and I would even say that to some extent I would credit the NES with like sparking my interest in computing in general.
Oh, sure.
At the time, it was my first. You could say it was my first computer of sorts, right? And I didn't really know how it worked. But I wanted to know how it worked. It really wasn't until many years later that I was able to, finally circle back and say, okay, now I get to understand how this thing behaves.
Right. Yeah, no, that's super cool. And it's funny how things pique your interest because, like I said earlier, I really want to try and make an NES game. And the thing that piqued my interest was NES Maker. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, and then you can actually put it on a physical cartridge. So I was like, I'm all in. I'm actually taking I don't remember the name of the course, but there's a course out there, a guy showing you 6502 assembly. I'm also a developer, but I'm more front end stuff. I do a lot of JavaScript, React, Angular, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I have an idea of how everything can work, but just that spark to be like, I can actually do this. Cause even for me, my interests go way back. I remember my first computer was Atom that hooked onto my ColecoVision.
Yeah.
And I remember, but it ran like basic language. So like the same stuff as the Apple IIe. So I would run to the drugstore, I remember, and buy the computer magazines that would have just like code in there so that you could write like, okay, write this to draw a pumpkin on the screen or whatever. So that's where I kind of started doing stuff. And yeah, it's just neat to see where everybody's passions come from for making these new games, especially for an older system like this.
Yeah, I think a lot of developers probably started it with games as the thing that caught their interest in
Yeah.
tech in general.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any advice I guess that you would give for aspiring developers that want to get into doing an NES game, especially something from scratch instead of using a tool like NESmaker?
Yeah, well, I would say the NES Dev forum, NES Dev forum is really good. A lot of good threads of discussion up there. Also, there's a wiki up there too that is super helpful for me, going through the documentation of how the different components of the NES work. And there's also some good links up there to different 6502 assembly language things. So yeah, I would say start there. There's really, if you dig around, there's a lot of documentation that's pretty good, and people that are willing to help too. It's a pretty friendly community, and if you reach out, you'll get a helpful response. I did several times and was really pleased. I would say be willing to be persistent and put up with some pain. There's some things that are not, they're not as straightforward as modern. Compared to modern development, things are a lot trickier. But also, it can be really satisfying. To be able to see, okay, this is my own code running on this hardware, making this thing happen. There's no other code. It's just my code. It's satisfying in a weird way.
No, I get that. Well, and then, anytime you run into a bug and actually being able to overcome that bug, what do they say? It's like, developing in general is like 70% debugging and 30% actually writing code.
Yeah. Actually, that's actually a really good point. If someone is doing this, I would recommend use a good emulator and debugger. Mezen is the one that I particularly use. It's a great debugging experience. It's a good emulator too, but the debugger is really good. The other thing is, if you are a developer already and you're coming from that background, the way that stuff fails on the NES is very different than what, typically something crashes in a modern application. You're going to get some kind of exception code, or you're going to get a back stack trace or something. There's no exceptions on the NES, right? If something fails, it's just weird stuff happens, right? Like, it just, you just don't know. Anything could happen. So a lot of times, like, I remember this bug one time where, like, things just started like falling from the sky on the screen. I'm like, what is going on? And it was a bug. It wasn't anything that strange, but what you end up with is weird visual artifacts or weird audio artifacts or weird whatever, And
right.
Figure out why did that happen?
There's no console error that you can look at and see what's going on.
Yeah, there's nothing like that, right? I mean, and even like things that we're used to be able to do, like you can do a poor man's debugger of putting in print statements here and there to check things out. There's no print statements on the NES. There's no console.
Yeah.
There's no even any built-in text renderer, right? You want to write some text to the screen? Well, those are bitmaps. Draw them yourself, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. It's got to be fun though I think, in fact, I know a lot of the developers take it as a challenge to be able to get more out of the hardware than maybe what was possible before.
Yeah.
So it's neat to see people's creations now, because there's some of these homebrew games that are coming out. They're easily could have been, I guess as much of a AAA title could be on the NES at the time. So it's really cool to see how people use it almost as an art form to play within the constraints of the NES hardware.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's interesting you mentioned that, because when I first started out, that was one of the things that I had to make a decision. Am I going to try to push the boundaries of the NES, or am I just going to make a game?
Sure.
I decided that for my first one, I'm not going to try to do anything that's like, whoa, I've never seen the NES do that before.
Right.
I would be sad. So I part of my goal was like, I want this to feel like a game that came out in the 80s. So by doing that, I was able to let myself off the hook and say, okay, I don't have to do anything amazing.
Well, and that's great though too, because some of the most fun I've had in gaming, and maybe it's just me being nostalgic for it, is the 8-bit era, because that was kind of the, and I had an Atari, I had a ColecoVision, but the Nintendo was the first one that was like, man, these games are really deep, and you can actually go through an adventure that takes hours to finish a game.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be able to create something in that space for me, and just being able to get like a physical copy of an NES game today too, to me is super exciting, because now as everything moves towards digital, I still like having that physical piece of media that I can put into my old Nintendo and play, which I think is one of the big reasons why the homebrew community has kind of risen, and I think it's growing even because people still want that physical media.
For sure, yeah, I can relate to that on a lot of levels. Like what you said about the NES really was a turning point in terms of the complexity of games and the depth of games beyond, say, like the Atari 2600, which was cool at the time. But NES really did make its mark there. But yeah, I also agree with you. Like I love going back to that era. Some of it's nostalgia, but also I just like the style of game. Like modern games, it can take so long to even really get into. Like there's you have a 45-minute introduction, and like sometimes I just want to sit down and play something,
Yeah.
And totally good about the physical media too. Like it's really nice to have a shelf full of tangible something to hang on to. And for me, making this game, like all the software, most of the software I've worked on in my career, it doesn't exist in any kind of physical form, right? So having a physical artifact, I've got a copy of it here.
Oh, nice.
Having that physical artifact of wow, this is an actual thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I missed your physical release, but so I grabbed it digitally. I bought a copy. Now, do you still have physical copies available, or are you out of them now?
No, I'm out. Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
We did 2 runs. The first run we did just a fixed number. Those sold out, and so that encouraged us to do a second one. The second one we did pre-orders to know exactly how many to make.
Nice.
And so that was nice. I don't know if we'll ever, maybe do another one sometime, but
yeah, sure. That's like you said though, just to have that, especially if you created it, I could imagine to have like, hey, look I created this and here it is. It's not just out there floating around digitally.
Yeah,
have
it's a nice
piece of physical media is amazing. I guess the last thing is how can everybody get your game, even though they can't get it physically anymore? I know it's still out there. Where can people download it? And all that, fun stuff.
Yeah, so the central place you could go is you go to 8bitjane.com is the website, and from there there's links to Steam, to itch, to Apple App Store, the Amazon App Store, the Google Play Store.
That's right. I forgot. I was going to ask you about that too. So it's not just on NES. You have it kind of all over the place at this point.
Yeah. So there's 2 versions of the game, 2 code bases. There was the NES code base, and then there was a modern code base. And that modern code base served as the foundation for all those other versions. They shared data, the graphics and the audio, like some of the graphics and like the map layouts and so forth. Like that data was the same across both, but then the code was obviously different.
Yeah, sure.
On the other, but so we did a multi-platform release, and actually we are working on console release. Today it's not on any consoles, but besides the NES, but we're working on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox.
Very cool. Nice. All right. Well, I guess I need last words you have or anything else you got to bring up.
Well, thanks for having me.
For sure.
I want to say for anyone listening, keep supporting these people out here doing this homebrew work. It's definitely a labor of love, and it shows someone's got some passion for it. So if you can support the devs, by all means, go for it.
All right. Well, that's going to end the interview part. And thanks everyone for listening. And last bit is our last takes. See you in a sec. Thank you so much for listening to the pod this week. Hopefully the audio wasn't too bad. The interview wasn't too bad. The topic wasn't too bad. Hopefully everything was just, kind of okay. We're getting better. We're trying to get better. Maybe we're getting worse. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Thank you so much. Do all that. I guess if you go to whatever you listen to this to on and leave us a review, a good review, it helps something. I don't know how that works. I don't know. It's cool. It's fun. Do it if you'd like. If not, whatever. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Late.